Welcome everybody to Freaky Tales Podcast on this Freaky Friday, and I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. First of all, I want to thank everybody on the live chat. Everybody's going to tune in a little bit later, and for those of you that are maybe watching this tomorrow. So other than that, I want to thank everybody for subscribing, for commenting, for liking, and for sharing. I'd like to thank everybody who has followed us on Freaky Tales Podcast on Instagram, Freaky Tales Podcast on Instagram. That's where, if you would like to follow us, it should be up on the screen, or it would be up on the description once this video is posted. Other than that, later on we will be taking live calls once again. So if you have a freaky story, a freaky tale, a freaky experience, anything that maybe you've experienced, a relative has experienced, or maybe even a story that's been passed down from generations, from your grandmother's grandmother down to your mother to you, we would love to call, for you to call and share it with us. Other than that, at documixery.com, hopefully that pops up on the screen. You can go and buy the horror loteria. Horror loteria is like a regular loteria, but it's got horror monsters on there. Check it out. I think you guys will enjoy it. We're almost out. A lot of people have bought them up and have played with them and got back to me and said that they enjoyed it. So, but without further ado, please allow me to introduce my special guest on Freaky Tales Podcast, none other than Megaman.
Tony, what's up?
How you doing?
I'm good. I'm really, really good. I've been really busy earlier today. I've been doing a lot of podcasts today.
Yeah, really. Before we jump into it and talk about what we're going to be discussing, can you share a little bit of your background? Like, what is it you do? I know you mentioned podcasting, so.
Well, I've been doing podcasts for about 2 years. My name is Steve Martinez, aka for the Megaman's podcast. My podcast, I interview, I had you on. You're my first celebrity guest I ever had on my podcast, so thank you. And I interview people. That's what I do. It could be celebrities, comedians, musicians, athletes, podcasters, inspiration people, and all the above. And I love doing podcasts, and there's a lot of people's needs to have their stories told. There's billions of people need to have their stories told, so I'm there to shed light on that.
Yeah, you're giving them a voice. You're giving them an opportunity to share their story.
Exactly.
And I think one of the many reasons why podcasting is important is because you never know who's listening.
Exactly.
I've done, I'll give an example. I did one interview about a year ago, and there was only 6 people live. 6 people live. I looked at the number and I said to myself, maybe I don't have to give my full story, but I did. And that one person found me on Instagram, DM me, and it led to something bigger. It truly, truly did, because that one person had major connections. So you never know.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who hear my podcast. Even I do the Megaman After Dark for people getting off work at 5 p.m. and the night owls and stuff. And I love doing it, and I want to interact with the people who watch the lives and everything. And like what you said, Tony, you never know who's going to be hearing, and because of that, I get all these DMs like, hey Megaman, you have a good story. I like what you're about. Like you said, connections and and all that, and getting to know you, and having MC Pancho on the podcast, and Joey's Barbecue, Tony A, Martin Moreno, just the who's and I love doing it. I can't wait for 2021 because I'm going to blow this podcast out of the water.
Awesome. Earlier this week I watch a lot of movies, and a lot of people know when they tune into my other podcast that I always mention a lot of horror movies.
Yeah, you do.
Here, even as well, I mention a lot of horror movies. There was one movie in particular that I saw again earlier this week, and it's called Devil by M. Night Shyamalan.
Oh, I saw that.
Okay. And what was so good about that movie and how it was directed was that they hid who was the devil.
Yes.
And the devil was right in front of you, and you couldn't see it. They couldn't see it. They didn't know. They were deceived the whole time. There's a passage that says that the enemy is here to steal, kill, and destroy. And people were going at each other's throats in that movie in the elevator. So if you haven't seen it, I recommend the movie called Devil.
Yes.
And in the movie, I don't know if this woman was demonically possessed or possessed by the devil himself. I bring that up because we talked earlier this week, and you had mentioned the demonic, or the how would you say, the supernatural realm dealing with demons.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you this: do you believe that the devil does exist?
Big time. Oh yeah, it's no joke.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
So you believe that there is a devil and that there are demons under him?
Oh, exactly.
Okay.
You know, there could be demonic. There's entities all around us. You know, there's from good and bad.
Yeah.
You know, my dad used to be a pastor at a church, and my grandpa too. So they always used to preach about it. You know, always do good, never do bad. You know, thou shalt not kill, like all the stuff. And you know, I feel like in my life, you know, there's always been a battle between angels and demons about my body. You know, like, you know, there was an incident. If you want to get into it.
Yeah, let's get into it.
I remember there's a time where I always felt like this presence was always following me. And I remember I was sleeping and I could hear a whisper of a demon tell me, and it said like, "You're lucky." It's like, I didn't get that. Like, what do you mean lucky? He's like, if I can't get you, then I'll get another relative of you that's related to you. It's really creepy. And I remember when they said it, 5 minutes later, my dad called. My dad lives in Texas.
Okay.
So my dad called 5 minutes after that demonic spirit was whispering in my ear, because I was paralyzed. I couldn't move, but I can hear. And that's when my dad called me. Hey, I just want to let you know, are you doing okay? Middle of the night, like true story. And I just want to let you know, I just got up. I felt something, but I just wanted to call just to pray for you. I wanted to see how you were doing.
Wow.
Weird.
Yeah, most people believe and that when you have a praying relative and they pray over their family, many people believe that when something as bad is about to happen, especially to a loved one, that it's almost like God notifies them. It's almost like God triggers something in them to get them to start praying. And I think that maybe that's what your dad received, was, are you okay? Not knowing what had just happened.
Yeah.
You know, I don't believe in coincidences. I don't believe in that. So I do believe that whatever your father's faith is, if it's in the Bible or whatever the case may be, whether he's a Christian, Catholic, or whatnot, his faith is what keeps him going. And I believe, once again, that God notifies him, my opinion, you know,
Yes.
God notifies them and tells them, pray for them, you know, and I'm sure he did. And then that's when he called. Is everything okay?
Yeah, because I don't talk to my dad anymore. But for some kind of reason, for my dad to call me middle of the night, like at 3:30 in the morning, which is the witching hour,
Right.
it's kind of weird.
Right. And how old were you when this happened?
I was, what, 31?
Okay.
31.
Okay.
You know, a lot of this stuff's been going on since I was little.
Yeah, you know, let's backtrack a little bit. Let's start when you were little. Around how old were you when you say you started to experience something like this? You know, whether it's the supernatural realm, the demonic realm, encountering evil spirits.
Oh, I passed to be, I could still go back and remember. I was like, what, 7 or 8 years old. That's how far I can go back.
Really?
I was like 7 or 8 years old, and we were living over here in Wilmington on L and Ruby Dock, right? I mean, Blinn and Ruby Dock Street right there. We live in the back houses, and there's been a lot of little weird haunted stuff been going on in these 4 houses. And I feel like when my dad was a pastor, going, you know, having a church, and with my grandpa in Carson, you know, I used to go to church, but for some kind of reason, there was always feel like there was entities or demonic or black figures are always trying to tear the family apart, because on my dad's side, there was a lot of drug abuse, alcohol abuse, people committing suicide, you know, and everything. So they always feel like maybe there's someone out there, maybe a demon's trying to break the family apart, you know, because, you know, oh, look at, you know, this guy does drugs, I'm going to take his life. There's so many stories, you know.
Yeah, you know, You know, the thing that I know for a fact, because I've had friends that became pastors,
Yes.
and what a lot of people don't realize that some of those people have it the hardest.
We
have
do.
it the hardest because if you are preaching and if you are serving and if you are ministering and helping people, most people believe that that's when the devil, if you will, or his demons attack, because they got to stop that good news, you know, that may save someone from the drug abuse, from prostitution, from gang violence or whatnot. That's the news, the good news that these pastors preach. But if you believe in the devil, then you believe that he is here to steal, kill, and destroy. So what he does, I need to stop that man from saving these people, in a sense. So they receive, if you will, I believe, the most trials and tribulations in their life. And I believe that 100%, because I've known pastors, friends of mine that were my age that became pastors that were attacked, you know, kind of like what you said, in their bed, they couldn't move, they couldn't breathe or whatnot. And if they can't get to you because your faith is strong, guess who they get? A child, the wife, the sister, or whoever. Anything to throw him off, you know, where he can no longer preach with a sound mind, you know. So I understand it.
Yeah, there is. I just brought that up. This is the first time ever I talked about this. I kept this to myself. You know, when you're doing good in life and everything, and you know, there always feel like there's things are trying to haunt you or trying to destroy your life. I remember about 2, maybe 3 years ago, like I had my daughter, like 5 years, you know, and I love my daughter so much. And I still remember when I was sleeping and I woke up and I saw an entity, and for some kind of reason, you know, I just heard the demonic says, I got Luna. And the way I don't want to talk about it because I get a little emotional. When that demonic said that, I felt like he was going to go after my daughter Luna, because my daughter Luna is a cancer survivor. I'm not just saying that or whatever, but I felt like if I can't get to me, I'm going to get to your daughter, because you love her and you precious her the most.
Yeah.
And I just,
you know, and because possibly, let's talk about this evil spirits. You know, to most Bible believers, many of them will not believe, if you will, in entities, shadow people, whatnot. Here's what they would believe: angels, demons. Angels, demons. Okay, it's pretty much just the way it is. I know a lot of people will say aliens, the supernatural entities, shadow people, but to most Bible believers that I've known will just say angels and demons. Okay, now, when you said that this person or this demonic being said this to you and you heard it, okay, let's look at it this way. He couldn't get to your father, couldn't get to you, so he moves on. If he can get to you, okay, through your daughter, then he has mentally, in a sense, destroyed you. He has thrown you off. Then that will throw your own father off. Do you see how it goes as a chain reaction? And that's pretty much what the devil, these demonic forces are here to do. So the good thing is that you have strong faith, and your faith, keeps you together. You know?
Yeah. It's just, you just got to stay positive from times like this, from this COVID. You know, you got to think very, very positive. There's so much negativity in this world, and, you know.
Very so much. And you know what, the older that I get, I'm just starting to see it more and more and more. And it's hard not to let it get to you, because you know we are told that we need to stay home, we're in the quarantine, and I'm starting to believe that this might be the new norm. Hopefully it's not, because everyone wants their life back.
Yes.
You know, and many people, when they're home, they open the doors to many other things, whether it's alcoholism, whether it's drug abuse, you know, maybe even dabbling in the demonic realm because they're bored, you know. So was there anything else? So you told me when you were about 8 years old, if I'm correct,
Yeah.
you started experiencing. What happened next after that?
When I was like 10, it started getting worse. When I was, like I said, living in Wilmington, I remember when I was sleeping, I would hear voices, but all of a sudden, this is the first time I actually saw a demonic spirit. When I was laying down on the side, I woke up and the demonic was just actually just staring at me, just looking at me. I started crying. I couldn't do anything. I was little at the time, calling my mom and dad. They came, and I blink of an eye, it just disappeared.
Now, when you said it was just staring at you, was it just more of a shadowy figure, a silhouette?
No, I saw the face.
You actually saw the face?
Saw the face. It was very, very creepy, and I will never forget that. And, you know, sometimes in a way, I have hard time sleeping because you're thinking like there's something watching me.
Yeah, you know, and it's weird because most people that have described stuff like that, they describe it more of a shadowy figure. It was dark. It was a silhouette. It was more of a black mist, you know, standing there or whatnot. But you're the first person I believe that has been here and said they actually saw a face. You know,
demonic. It was very, very ugly, very old, but very just like, no, the eyes were like all black.
Did you ever try to put this on paper and try to draw it out?
You know, I used to be a drawer, and if I can draw it, but it has to, I mean, you see movies, you see pictures, but it's not like you see in movies. That's the thing. But it's just like the way how you see it like that, it's not even close. Not even close.
Yeah, no, I understand because I did a lot of my research when it came to angels and demons, the study of them. You know, there's cherubims, there's archangels, there's seraphims, then it's just regular angels, which are just messengers.
Yes.
You know? So I understand then the same way that there's ranked angels, there's also ranked demonic forces, demonic, you know, demons, if you will. Mm-hmm. So I understand that. I read books, many books that, which I still have, that talk about when, how do I put it? Many times people could open up the door when they take drugs and they don't realize, you know, whether it's crack cocaine, whether it's crystal meth, whether it's heroin, then you get hooked, and many of these people see things. You know, we hear a lot of people say, you know what, I was on heroin, I was smoking sherm, I was on acid, I was on ecstasy, I was on this, and I saw things. Many people believe that these drugs are a portal to the, if you will, the supernatural.
Exactly.
Look, let me tell you something. I don't mess around with drugs. I don't, you know. But I'm not trying to see any of these things. You know, I've seen enough. I've had my share enough. And I've never been on drugs. But I've seen a lot of these things. And, you know, a lot of times we say we want to see something. Believe me, some of the stuff that I've seen, and maybe I'm sure some of the stuff you've seen, you don't recommend for people to see.
I saw with my own eyes a person possessed. So when my dad was a pastor, my uncle Noe, he was a pastor too. Yeah. Lived on the 4 houses. Back in the day, like when I was 10 years old, he was a pastor. They would bring people who were possessed or people who were demonic to the house. Like, hey, can you pray for him? Pray for him. So I remember I was like telling my mom, hey, I want to go outside. No, you can't go out. Why you can't go out? I think I tagged you on a story. My cousin Mario, we did a podcast. He would tell me the story about 2 twins who died. They were both possessed, you know. So he was praying, you know, it's like, and I guess in a way, some neighbors called the cops. I guess the cops knew my uncle Noe. He was a pastor. He was well known in the San Pedro and the Wilmington area. And he said, hey, what's the deal? It's like, well, if I show you this person, you know, you might be shocked. It's like, try me. So the 2 cops went to go see the person, and they looked at his eyes, and the cops from the San Pedro, you know, said, we're out of here. They just like, this is not our thing. We can't help, you know, because the person was demonic, you know, screaming like a wolf, you know, just his eyes, he was just out of nowhere getting prayed. And I guess in a way what happened was he was possessed. He was stabbing himself, cutting his, you know, and the wife said, hey, you got to take him, pray for him. And I guess like a month or 2 later, he died. But before he died, he says, hey, I'm gonna take this soul, and after that, I'm gonna take his brother's soul, because they were twin brothers. Mm-hmm. and he took his, and I guess in a way the other brother was possessed, and he was howling like a wolf right here at the cemetery, right here on PCH, right there by the bridge.
Yes.
And the cops came and everything, and I guess they tried to pray for him, do whatever, and it wasn't working, and he died in Banny Park. He overdosed. So that demon took both brothers.
Wow. And when did this happen?
Oh, this is like in the 80s. This is like probably when I was 9 or 10 years old, because we went to the funeral for both twins.
Wow. Did they end up killing themselves, or
one committed suicide and the other one overdosed on drugs, and his body was right here at the park, at Banny Park.
Yeah. You know, I heard this, and I don't know if this is true, and I like to be very, very careful when I say these things. That this is what I've heard, and I've heard this from many people that are, if you will, in the church. Okay?
Yes.
They've told me that many times there's a demonic spirit. They call it a suicidal spirit. That not everybody who commits suicide, I'm going to say, was demonically influenced or demonically possessed. I am not saying that. I want to make that clear.
Yes.
But there are some people that do believe that there is a demonic spirit that is a suicidal spirit. And let me share this with you, and I'm sure you probably have heard stuff like this. Say that you had a grandfather that committed suicide. Then his son, which is your father, committed suicide. And then the son commits suicide. And suicide travels in the family.
Oh, yeah. It's like a cycle.
Yes, it's like a cycle. Some people would say it's a generational curse. I don't believe that. I believe that it is possibly, and I want to be careful with my words, possibly a suicidal spirit. Okay. Mm-hmm. There was a lady that shared with me, and I'll share it in a nutshell, that her family members, that her father, her brother, and her husband killed themselves all in the same room years apart.
Well, there has to be a spirit in that room.
Exactly.
That's probably speaking to them in voices,
And they all had the same symptoms. They all thought they were going mad. You know, after a while, their senses, started to go. They didn't make any sense anymore. And I asked, was there like alcohol abuse? No. Was there this type of abuse? No. Then one of them said, you know what? I know my father, he was into drugs, and he got my brother got into that eventually.
Yeah.
Whether that's what opened the door, I don't know, but I'm just sharing what she told me, and that these three people committed suicide in the same room.
Yeah. So, a lot of stuff happened in that area where I lived on Ruby Dock. On Glen Avenue, back in the late 80s, early 90s. You know how it was, Tony, man. It was bad, really bad. Yeah. Over here at Greenbelt Park, the Bloods and Crips would be, wars. A lot of people don't know about Ghost Town. I was, last year, the first time ever in all my life, I went across town, across the other street, because I was forbidden to go to that street because it was really, really bad. Until it calmed down, I was like, my mom and dad said, don't never, ever go on that street. It's really, really bad. Right. So I went there last year for the first time, and I was like, wow, it really, really calmed down. I heard a lot of stories.
In the 80s, it was like a swap meet. And when I say swap meet, traffic of people walking down the street buying crack cocaine.
Yes.
Okay. Now, that was definitely a demonic haven there. We didn't see it. We didn't know back then. We just said, wow, they're making a lot of money here. Mm-hmm. But we didn't realize what was behind it in the supernatural.
Oh, yeah.
So believe me, I understand that. I've had several friends that committed suicide, and then later on I find out that they were dabbling in things that they shouldn't have. Now whether that's what killed them or not, I don't know. But one thing that they all did have, that many of them took drugs. And was it something they saw? Was it something that they heard? We don't know. We don't know. But I do believe in the demonic realm. I do believe that there are demons, and I know there's people that say no, it's just energy. Some people say no, it's all in your imagination. No, I've seen too much. I've seen too much.
The same thing, Tony. I've seen a lot, and we go by energy, and there's some times where I guess you were talking about on the other episodes where sometimes you might see an entity of someone hanging on that person's back.
Yes.
I've seen that maybe 2 times in my life.
Okay, so it's true then.
No, it's true. And like how you say there was an entity of like a big gorilla,
Yeah.
but sometimes in a way it could be something really small or something make a medium size just
Yeah.
hanging, and you can tell like that person's is not themselves.
Right.
You know, and that's where sometimes when you go see how energy or you meet people, I'm very, very cautious of who I associate, who I bring into my house, because you might bring that bad energy. And sometimes if it does, you know, you might have to sage it, you might have to bless it.
Yeah, no, very, very true. Very, very true. You know, I'm just very, very careful who I bring around, even my family.
Exactly.
You know, we could say who you let in through your door, but also through you meet your family. I've met people that when I've been with friends that say they have a small child, and people would walk by and say, "Oh, can I touch him?"
Oh, no.
No, you cannot do that. You cannot do that. And
No.
there's people, "Oh no, if I don't touch him, something's bad's gonna happen. Something bad's gonna happen to you if you don't get out of here." You know. But anyway, let us continue. So you went ahead, 8 years old, 10 years old, and tell us a little bit more.
There's always been like haunted stuff. So when I got my own place, I felt like there was something following me. And I remember with my grandpa, he passed away in '88.
Okay.
And there's also another story with that. When my grandpa died, my mom was very heartbroken. And they had the house still, and I guess my mom and my dad, when my mom and dad were together, we went to my grandpa's house, and because he died in the house, died in his sleep in the living room.
Did anybody ever find out what happened? Why?
He died in peaceful sleep.
Okay.
Now I don't know if he had a heart attack, but that's when my mom's sister's husband saw he was mowing the lawn, you know, and everything, and he's like, "Hey, I mowed everything, I got it cleaned out." He didn't wake up, and he passed away on the couch in a peaceful sleep. My grandpa was a pastor.
Okay.
So he was very loving, and my mom took it really hard. And I remember we were picking up some belongings in the middle of the night in Riverbank, California, right next to Modesto. And my mom was praying, and at the time she was praying, and everything, the lights just like shut off. Everything, like my mom was screaming like, "What the heck's happened?" It's like, but stuff like that happens, you know.
Right.
And sometimes you feel energies, and I feel like there's a presence I feel with my grandpa, my grandma, or sometimes I feel like with my cousin Steven.
Yeah.
My cousin Steven, he was the person who got me to video games of the Megaman. So I named the Megaman's podcast for my cousin Steven, who passed away. He died of he was living in Montana, and he was driving back home, and he fell asleep driving, and a gas diesel truck hit him face first, and he died.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, let me ask you this. Since we're talking about demonic beings, demonic forces, do you believe in haunted houses, or do you believe that these houses are just infested with demons?
That's a good question. You know,
I know it's hard because we don't know, but
we don't know.
By your opinion, a lot of because when I think ghost, I always think like a white sheet with eyes, and obviously that's not what that is.
To be honest, it really depends. But actually, when a person passes away, I remember like when they're giving belongings away. I remember my grandma when she passed away. My mom gave me her bed that passed when she passed away, and ever since I had that bed, a lot of weird stuff's been going on. But I threw away the bed because it was too much weird stuff going on. I felt like entities. I felt like something heavy choking me. I couldn't wake up, being paralyzed, opening my eyes, seeing black figures, crying. I couldn't move my mouth. Right. And I always feel like there's always something following me. No matter if I get blessed, no matter just anything, there's always something following me.
If somebody would ask you, like, why do you think that? Is there a reason why you think something would be following you? Or is it because maybe you came from a somewhat religious background?
Religious background. Because my grandpa was my mom's father was a preacher. My dad was a preacher. My dad's father was a preacher. It's a Christian home.
Right.
All half of my families are apostolics.
Right. Okay. I read a quote by a man named Leonard Ravenhill. And if those of you that like to read, how would you say, encouraging biblical writings?
Yes. Okay,
there's a book called Why Revival Tarries by Leonard Ravenhill. And I read it. I love it. It's probably one of my favorite books. And he said this. He said, when God opens up the windows of heaven to bless us, Satan will open up the gates of hell to blast us. And I truly believe that is very, very true. You know, whenever someone tries to get close to God, you know, and tries to walk that straight and narrow path, that's when these demonic forces, you know, open up their gates to blast you, you know, because you have become, if you will, a not only a positive light, but a threat to the demonic kingdom, simply because you are carrying that word of God and you're sharing it, and you're a light to this world, you know. So, but that's what most Bible believers would believe.
Yeah.
You know,
even though like I haven't been at church for a very long time, and a lot of my family still go to church to this day, it feels weird when my cousins or my family say, "I'm just let you know, Stephen, I'm praying for you. I'm always praying for you." You know, and I feel like when there's depression or anxieties or stuff that I go through, sometimes my family are always praying for me, and that's why I feel like there's a battle with angel and a demon battling over my body.
right?
You know, good and bad.
Right. Okay. You know, there's a story. There's a story that I read, and it said something along the lines, and I'm trying to remember it, but there was a woman that came to see Jesus. It's a religious story. Okay.
Yes.
Came to see Jesus. She said that she had spent all her money going to all the doctors, and they could never find out what was wrong with her. Okay. And the story continues that Jesus rebuked the demon or cast the demon out of her. Okay. And she stood up straight and she was healed. Okay. If we analyze that story, and if it's true, that means that whole time that infirmity was caused by a demonic force. And nobody could find out what it was, because now it wasn't physical, it was spiritual. Now, going back to what you said of anxiety, depression, many people, now I'm just sharing what people have told me.
Yes.
In some cases, people have believed that depression, anxiety comes from being oppressed by demonic forces. Being oppressed meaning not necessarily possessed, but oppressed is being attacked. Being attacked, and they attack you with depression and anxiety. I'm not saying that that's everybody who suffers from depression and anxiety, you know, it's got a demon hanging over their shoulder. But I am saying that in some cases, I do believe that it could be. There are people out there probably listening, okay, that maybe they've had loved ones that the doctors could never find out what was ever wrong with them. And I've read plenty of stories like that many people came to Jesus during that time, and he healed them by casting the evil spirit out. And there were some that couldn't hear. There were some that couldn't speak. And he cast those demons, and they were able to. Now, am I going to sit here and say that everyone who's handicapped is demonically? No, I'm not saying that. I'm just sharing simply what I've read.
Yes.
That's it. And I believe to a certain extent it does make sense, because there are people that have suffered and the doctors can't find out what it is. It doesn't matter what medication you take.
And that is true. You know, like what happened? Why is he like this? Is it from a family tree? Is it because he took, you know, from his mom and dad, and goes on from that, you know, going back to like how you said, well, if this grandpa committed suicide, his father, and this son is a grandson going to commit suicide, because it's a cycle continuing. Right.
Yeah. And that's what I think that's perfect what you said. It's a cycle. Most people believe that those are demonic forces, you know, so it doesn't even matter if you even leave the house.
Yes.
If it's following you, it's going to follow you. Just like you said, I've always felt that someone or something is following you, you know. Many years ago, I went to a gathering, okay? And when I say gathering, it was more of a barbecue. It was a fellowship. It was a hangout. Okay?
Gotcha.
They invited me, and I didn't know that the guy who invited me, his brother, was a pastor. Okay, I didn't know this. Thought he was a good man. Shook my hand. We talked, cool, whatever. But there was this one guy, and they didn't make it known that he was a pastor. He was just dressed normal, you know, older gentleman. And there was a guy there. I thought he was on drugs or something, you know. And I noticed that he kept ridiculing this older gentleman. Like, he would tell people, look at his shoes, because he had penny loafers. Remember those shoes?
No, I used to wear those.
Yeah. He had penny loafers, and then he had slacks, and he had a shirt with pencils right here.
Okay.
You know, so he was like, you know, making fun of him. And this guy, he was getting on my nerves, because this guy was a well-respected man. He was well-mannered, you know, and he would talk to everyone. And finally, he said something stupid, which I didn't hear. But he said something stupid to this man, and this man just turned around and looked at him, and here's what he said, and I never forgot this. He said this: the only reason why you're alive right now, and the only reason why Satan hasn't taken your life, because there's a family member praying for you. That's what he said.
There's someone out there praying.
Yes.
There could be someone out there praying for you or for me.
And let me tell you something. And that guy calmed down real quick. Real quick.
Yeah.
2 days later, the guy who invited me calls me. He goes, remember that guy that was here? And I go, yeah. He said, that was a buddy of mine. He says, and after the gathering, after the little fellowship, he said, he calls me. He goes home and he says, that guy scared the hell out of me. And he said, I asked him. He said, I asked him, how? And he said, because I have a grandmother that has been praying for me, and she tells me that all the time, and I always make fun of her.
You know what? I just thought about this. I would imagine if a lot of my family members were not at church or not spiritual or active,
Yeah.
I don't even know if I would be here. You know, if no one was praying for me, I would have been, you know, I always, like I said, I was telling you earlier, I was battling through depression, anxiety. There was also about, I'm not going to lie, about 8 or 9 times I wanted to commit suicide. And I always felt like there was voices saying, just do it.
Now let me ask you this. Say that you listened to these voices, okay? Mm-hmm. And let's just say you did it. Okay. See, many people, and I want to be careful when I say this, because many people obviously do not think when they commit suicide, all the damage that they left behind. Family members that will never be the same ever again.
Yes.
So when you commit suicide, it is no longer just you that you've hurt it. You've destroyed and hurt so many people.
Exactly.
So many people. I had a friend that committed suicide on Christmas Day. Do you think that family could ever have a beautiful Christmas without ever remembering him again?
It's traumatizing.
It's traumatizing. You don't realize, a lot of people don't realize it, but we also have to realize what these people are going through. Mm-hmm. But what you said, you know, I heard voices. You know, there was a murderer named Son of Sam from New York, okay? And according to him, he heard voices coming from a dog to kill people. So those voices are really out there. And you know what the funny thing is, and people could do the research, Son of Sam is still alive. And Son of Sam is now if you will, a believer of the Bible. He became a Christian in jail. Mm-hmm. Some people say, well, you know what? They all do that. Well, do your research. This guy has been since, you know, and he has said himself that he should never be released. And if anything, that they should put him to death for what he did, because he knows now that he has been forgiven according to his faith. So, but going back to your voices, you know, I do believe to a certain extent that those could be demonic forces. Mm-hmm. You know, once again, the enemy has come to steal, kill, and destroy.
But at the same time, having those wicked, like, suicidal thoughts, it's like I was to the point, I'm right there, I'm going to do it, but for some kind of reason, you know, I gather my thoughts and be like, what am I doing?
Right.
If I do this, what's going to happen to my 2 boys?
Right.
What's going to happen to my daughter? What's going to happen to my son? What's going to happen, you know, people who care about me, like my mom and dad, it would hurt them more.
Right.
So that's why I feel like we're talking about earlier, like there's a battle.
Yeah.
But sometimes, like now, knowing what I know now, I overcome it.
You know, and let me say, the battle all starts here.
Exactly.
It all starts right here.
Exactly.
Quick story, and I will not say his name simply because he didn't give me permission to share this.
Okay.
So I'll just name him, you know, John. Okay. Mm-hmm. His son passed away many years ago, and as a little boy, he had to bury his 5-year-old son. After the burial, he went home, and his wife started cooking dinner, you know, mm-hmm. food for him to eat. He went in his room, got in his closet, got in his shoebox, pulled out a 9mm and put it under his chin. And he said, I didn't even think about my wife. He said, I didn't even think about, he said, my daughter. I just wanted to kill myself because I could not live knowing that my son is in a box 6 feet under.
That's that mentality. You're just like, you just fuck everything. You're just do it. That's why I felt like, what am I doing? I would, if something happened to one of my kids, I wouldn't know what to do.
Right. And that's where the attack begins, is right here. Now, this guy is not a church-going guy or anything like that, okay? And he said for the first time, he heard somebody whisper in his ear twice. And he did it just like this. Do it. Do it. And he said it scared him so much that voice actually scared him not to do it.
The same thing with me. That same voice is very, very, it's not human type.
Right.
It was very creepy where, seeing a demonic face, hearing a demonic voice, seeing entities, seeing areas. It's like, it would be with me forever.
Yeah.
And,
You know what, John? Can we put the number on the screen? We're going to go ahead and take some phone calls. Maybe we'll take about 2. So we're going to go ahead and before we take our 5-minute intermission, we're going to go ahead and put the number on the screen. And for anyone that wants to call and ask anything to Megaman pertaining to the subject or that we are discussing, right now will be the time. So, caller? Okay, let's go there. Go ahead and put him on. Okay, caller, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Hello, caller?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. If you could,
okay, perfect.
Yes.
So I'm Darlene. I'm from Portland, Oregon.
Yes.
I just want to say how much I love your podcast. I listen to it every week.
Thank you. Thank you. We truly appreciate it.
Okay, so here's my story. So I had moved alone for my first time in a big 3-bedroom creepy house that was cheap. And I would always sleep with my bedroom door locked and the TV on because it gave me like creepy vibes, but I was just happy to finally have a place of my own. After being there for 3 months, I had a Halloween party. I made a haunted maze in the garage where I had hanging doll heads, creepy standing dolls, and other scary objects. And that night, after everyone left, I went to bed. I had a dream that I was in my bathroom and I saw a lady ghost. She was slightly elevated off the floor and she was creepy looking and like grayish. And I had gone out the bathroom and I slowly started walking backwards, like towards my kitchen. And I would close my eyes and each time I opened it, it got closer. Eventually it was almost face to face with me and my voice started shaking and I was starting to tell it to go away. Finally, when it touched me like face to face, I yelled, "Go away!" And it yelled back at me, "Get out of my house!" And it threw me out of the house. And my dream ended with me on the front yard, like staring at the house. And when I woke up, I felt a cold breeze. I immediately packed all my stuff and I moved out because it felt so real.
Yes.
So when I went back to do a final cleaning before I returned the keys, there was a window that would never open and it was swinging open. There was a bundle of sticks taped and burnt at the end thrown in my backyard. And in my garage, behind a sheet that was there when I moved in that I never thought to take down, was a crisp white shaved cross that had not one speck of dust on it. It gave me the creep. My mother's friends from church said that when I threw the Halloween party, I brought something evil into the house by having all the dolls and the doll heads hanging. But I think that there was something evil there already because why would there be a cross left?
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. What do you think?
Wow, that's a lot there, that you gave us in a nutshell. But the way I took it, I believe that there was something there already.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I believe. I don't believe in the decoration thing. Some people will say yes, and I get it, But from what I received, what I got from your story was that I do believe whoever was there first brought that in, or possibly even before them. We've talked a lot about doing research on the history of your home, because we don't know who was there or what they did, what went on before you moved in, that could have invited those, whether it's the evil spirit, whether people want to call them demonic, these demonic entities into your home. But from what I got from your story, I do believe that it was already there.
You think in a way, Tony, like when people are going to be moving into a new house, shouldn't like the realtor or someone say, hey, before I get this house, did anything happen at this house? Because they have to tell you by law.
They do have to tell you, but most people won't ask. Won't ask. Why that is, I have no idea. Many people that buy a home or rent a home very, very cheap, they don't kind of want to rock the boat.
Yeah, I know.
So they just want to get in. But many times they don't know what they're getting into.
Exactly.
So how long did you live there before you moved out?
3 months, and then I decided to throw the Halloween party. But I always got creepy vibes, and people would tell me all the time, like, you should stage your house, like, it doesn't feel right here.
Right.
And I didn't see anything till that night.
Wow, that is a wild, freaky dream right there. But once again, I do believe that it was something there already.
You know what? Bless the house, sage it, but also clean the walls, everything. That's what's with sage or any kind, but always clean the walls, because you never know if something was stuck in those walls or anything. That's what I would clean my house and just clean the walls. You never know. Okay. Well,
we want to thank you for calling and sharing that and being a part of Freaky Tales podcast. We greatly appreciate you tuning in. So thank you very much.
Thank you,
Tony.
Thank you.
No, thank you. Keep doing what you do.
Thank you. Okay, let's take one more caller, John. We'll take. Okay. Hello, caller, you there?
Yes.
Yes, how you doing? What's your name and where you calling from, if you don't mind?
I'm calling from Livingston, California.
Okay, how you doing tonight?
I'm good, and you guys?
Oh, we're really good, man. We want to thank you, first of all, for calling and being a part of the show and sharing with us your experience. So if you don't mind, go for it.
Okay, yeah. The experience that I had was, I don't know, you were talking about it a couple of podcasts back about lucid dreaming.
Yes.
I used to have these attacks while I was asleep, and it's kind of like hard for me to like tell people about it. It took me a long time to actually. The first person that I told this about was my mom, and actually had this. Well, I don't know what it was, but it was like violating me while I was asleep. Know, and it was something really, really hard to explain, and I was battling. At first, I didn't know. I kind of didn't understand. But as time, went on and whatnot, I was trying to, fight this thing off, and I tried to get help. I went to somebody who read tarots and was like a spiritualist or whatever,
yes.
And tried to, help me to get rid of this thing, But
let me ask you, for how long did this continue? Was it a one-time thing? Was it several times?
No, it happened for years. It happened for years. At first, like it wasn't like necessarily I was getting like like that at first. At first, it started happening. Like I started feeling like this really like escalofrío, in my body. And when I was in that state of like lucid dreaming, I felt like in less words to say, it felt like the world was going to end. It felt like something really horrible was going to take over me. It was like, and I try to wake up. Like I try to wake up from that state, and sometimes I'll wake up and then I'll fall back into that state again, and it was just horrible. And, it happened for a long time. And sometimes like, I felt like I would try to wake myself up, and, I felt like my spirit would fall. I would try to make my spirit like for me fall over, but I was still on the bed. You know what I mean? I don't know if you could understand me.
Creepy.
No.
Yeah, I would I would feel like I'm falling down to the side of the bed to try to wake up, but I was still in the same spot.
No,
and I would yell and nobody would hear me.
Let me share this with you, and I shared this maybe a couple of episodes ago. I've experienced that pretty much all of my life. Only this last one, the only thing different was that my son heard me yelling from his room, "Wake me up, wake me up," and he came in, woke me up, and that was the first time, and he couldn't believe that I was asleep, yelling, "Wake me up!" And when I woke up, I told him, "I wanted you to wake me up." And he goes, "You did?" And I said, "Yes," because I was going through something terrible. Now, you said you were being, if I'm correct, violated at one point, correct?
Yeah, I was, and I tried to wake up and whatnot, and I'm a believer and whatnot, and I would say I plead the blood of Jesus, because they said that's like the most powerful thing you can say
Right.
at that moment, and I'm like, and sometimes it wouldn't work. I mean, I would pray, and I would feel something on me, and
Right.
I would feel like this most uncomfortable feeling, and I would try to wake up. I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I would break free from it. Like I would wake up, and there's sometimes where man, it was just crazy, and
Yeah.
Tony,
and it stopped.
what are we talking about? I think it's almost
stopped
like
for a long time.
talking about a succubus.
Yeah, many people would say the succubus or incubus. They would
Yes.
say that, and the reason why I brought up that you being violated simply because I've known women that have told me that they've experienced sexual encounters while they were asleep,
Yes.
and even men that have told me the same thing, that they've experienced that something was violating them down there. Without getting too graphic,
Yeah.
but yes. So obviously, you know what? Not only this is just not something that we're making up. This happens everywhere to a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
So obviously there's some truth to it. Something is going on. We cannot explain it, but that's why we welcome people to come on the show and talk about it, because we never know who might be listening to this. And for years, maybe, now they're saying, okay, somebody else is going through the same thing that I've been going through. And it gives them the courage to step forward and to talk about it or seek help on how they can possibly be helped with something like this, because nobody wants to be woken up, being violated by
Exactly.
something that you don't know or cannot explain, So I understand that. But other than that, we want to thank you for calling in and for being, open and honest about your experiences. We greatly appreciate it here at this podcast. So
Yeah. Thank you.
we want to thank you for calling in.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you guys too.
Okay.
All right. Later.
So we could take this off. We're going to take some more phone calls when we come back from the break. But let me just touch on something really quick. I've known women that have told me that they've woken up with bruises between their legs, like literally bruises. They thought, one I shared a while back, that she thought it was actually her husband. She was such in a deep sleep that she just kind of like, okay, he usually does this. I'll let him get pleasure himself, And the next day, actually told him, man, I want part two. And he was like, he didn't know. And he finally took it to the side away from the kids and said, what do you mean? He said, well, last night you were an animal. And he said, I don't remember. And she said, well, what were you? What are you talking about? He goes, I drank a couple of beers and I fell asleep in the living room and I came to bed around 4 o'clock in the morning. And she goes, no, it was before that. Yeah. She explained in detail what had happened. And he got terrified. And he didn't believe her. And then she opened up her legs. She said, well, how did I get these bruises? He said she thought they were hickeys or something, or without getting too into detail, but
Yes.
that's what she thought. And same thing with men. I know this may sound like a joke to certain people, but it's not funny when you're going through it. I've known certain men that I know that have told me I've woken up and I felt a woman going down on me.
I'll tell you in the second half. I think I have one story about that.
And many of them can't move, and whatever it is, it's pleasuring themselves on you. And it's not a good feeling when everything's dark and you see something that's darker than the darkness in the room and you can't make out what it is.
Oh, that's so creepy, dude.
So
That's creepy.
yeah. So here's what we're gonna do. We're going to go ahead and take a 5-minute intermission break, and we're going to be right back. But other than that, we're going to be taking more phone calls, so please get ready, dial in, and please share with us no more than maybe 2 or 3 minutes, so we allow the phone calls and get to your story. You know, if you want to be named anonymous, then just say I want to stay anonymous.
Yeah.
And if you want to share your name or where you're from, then we welcome that as well. So once again, we'll be back in 5 minutes, so we'll see you soon. Thank you. Welcome back, everybody, to Freaky Tales podcast on this Friday night. And I want to thank everybody who has tuned in, who has subscribed, who has commented. And I want to give a shout out to everyone on the live chat. We truly, truly appreciate you guys. Other than that, once again, we're going to be taking some calls right about now. So the numbers should be up on the screen. And while we're waiting, documixery.com. For those of you that want to order the horror loteria, we got a few left. I think they're pretty cool. I think you guys will enjoy it. If you go to the website, check them out. You'll see what I'm talking about. So we only have a few left. But we have a caller, so go ahead and let's see what the caller is going to share. Hello, caller. Are you there?
Hello.
Yes. How you doing, caller?
Hey, what's up, Tony?
How you doing?
Real good.
What's your name, brother, and where you calling from, if you don't mind?
Well, my name's Alfredo. I'm calling from South Bend, Indiana.
Okay, South Bend, Indiana. Wow. My favorite team is Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I messaged you on Instagram,
Okay. So how you doing, man? What you going to share with us?
Well, I got a little little story. My wife been having some dreams.
Okay.
Of her dad passed away, I want to say about 6-7 years ago from cancer.
Yeah.
And he's been on her dreams, I want to say about 3 years ago, we got in a really bad car accident. And the night before, he was in her dream, and he was telling her he was going to take care of her, not to worry about things. And I kind of heard her, moaning, complaining. And I woke her up. I shook her. I'm like, hey, are you okay? And right when she woke up, she screamed like, no, like really, really loud.
Yes.
So that following day, we were planning to go out for 4th of July out of the state. And we got in, I want to say a freeway. And we got hit real bad from the back. And my SUV did like a full turn. And she screamed just like she screamed in her dream.
Yeah.
The same way, like really loud. Like, no, like scared, you know?
Yeah.
So during the epidemic, when all this coronavirus hit, we were planning to take the same trip down to Texas, where my family's from.
Yes.
And she had a dream of her dad again. And he was just telling her that he was going to take care of her, not to worry, you know?
Yeah.
And so she wants, you know, like thinking about, we were talking, discussing, like, well, maybe he's taking care of you because you take care of him while he was sick and, you know, he couldn't walk. He couldn't do anything, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and not too long ago, her sister-in-law is pregnant. She said she had a dream of him sitting in her house in the living room with him and telling her that he wants her to name her son after him. So it's kind of you know.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
he's still around, you know.
Yeah.
Around the family, but
he's appearing in dreams.
Afraid of getting it. Yeah, you know.
Okay. Well,
and,
you know,
it's only her. It's nobody else.
Yeah.
None of her sisters or brothers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, I've never heard anything like that before. Just where a person just continuously appears, especially a family member. So that's a little different for us. But I mean, I don't know if you wanted us to elaborate on it, but it's really not much I can say other than, you know, thank you for sharing, because that's something that, like, I'm still, how would you say, thinking about how wild that is, you know?
Yeah. Seeing a person in your dreams, like every dream is like that person.
Right. Yeah. I mean, obviously there must be some type of explanation for it, but that's pretty wild, man. And I just want to thank you for sharing. And, you know, because I know it's a little bit late out there, South Bend.
Yeah.
If I'm correct, I believe you guys are like 2 hours ahead of us. And so I want to thank you.
Yeah, 2 or 3.
Yeah, I want to thank you, man, for.
Well, thank you, Tony.
Yes, most definitely.
And we just wanted to share a story. Maybe, you know, maybe somebody else out there having the same experiment, you know, or
yes. Okay, thank you, brother. We appreciate it. Thank you for calling, bro. Okay. Let's go ahead and get another phone call. If anybody out there, after hearing this story, you know, I don't have any explanation for something like that. No. You know, but we just thankful that he called and shared, because obviously something in her dreams is telling her, I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to take care of you. You know, so
that's like a first time hearing something like that before.
Same here. Yeah. Same here. So that's why it kind of has me a little like tongue tied, you know?
Yeah.
So if we get another caller or anybody that has experienced anything like that, and you want to shed a little bit of light, you know, you could do it now. Mm-hmm. The phone number should be up there. As soon as John lets us know that somebody's on. If not, we will continue with our podcast. So, okay. I believe we have somebody there. Caller. Hello?
Hey, what's up, Tony?
Hey, how you doing, man? What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, how's it going?
Hello?
From Compton. Born and raised, man. I'm just calling for a little quick story.
Yes, sir.
You know, I noticed you guys talk about demons and ghosts and shit like that, but I want to touch on something I saw recently with someone who I thought was a friend of mine.
Yes.
For years. And this vato, you know, I'm not racist or nothing, but he's a blonde-haired, blue-eyed cat. I'm Hispanic. So I'm in East LA at my dad's pad. I invite this fool over to, like, come kick it or whatnot. Bro. All right, sorry, I'm still at work. Anyway, this vato, I'm talking to him about the real names of God and so-called Jesus, which, by the way, for your information, is Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai Bahashem Mashiach. All praises due. Anyway, I say that I have faith that these names are gonna, keep me safe and whatnot. And this dude's eyes changed for 2 blinks into like some kind of like cat slit, reptilian type shit. Dude, I put that on my son, on my mama. I don't do drugs. I don't drink. That it just freaked me out, bro. I had to like walk away. I was so freaked out. It's still freaking me out talking about this shit. But I just wanted to share that with y'all,
Yeah. And have you ever seen that before in anyone else other than him?
Honestly, I seen it on TV, like YouTube clips and stuff, and I thought it was boo-boo. I thought it was fake until I seen the shit with my own eyes. It like flabbergasted me, Tony, real talk. And it like, I've been shot at, I've been in fights, I've been jumped. I'm not shook easily, you know what I mean? And that shit shook my core.
Yeah, because that's something that's out of your
I just
control.
wanted to share that with y'all. Like, there's some like reptilian type people out there. Watch out now.
You know what? And you're not the first person that has ever brought that up, because there's a lot of people that do believe in that. And so, hey, you know what? There's people that believe that there's aliens living amongst us.
I heard rumors that they say reptilians have a city in Antarctica under.
Yeah.
And those are rumors. And you see a lot of chancellors, a lot of presidents from around the world always going to Antarctica for some kind of reason.
Wow.
Spending like a week or 2 there.
Well, thank you, caller. Appreciate it, man. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. Have a good one, guys.
You too.
God bless. Have a good night.
You too.
Let me share this something while we're waiting for another call. We'll take one more and then we'll continue.
Yes.
It's funny that he said I saw some person's eyes change, because the first time that I ever experienced something like that, I was about 17, 18 years old. And I was sitting in the back seat, and me and my brother were giving a guy a ride home. I didn't know who this guy was. Mm-hmm. And I remember my brother was talking, and there was somebody else sitting on the passenger side. I'm sitting in the back of the passenger, and this guy sitting to the left of me. And I noticed this guy through my peripheral vision, if I'm correct. I noticed he kept looking at me. When I turned around, I couldn't see really his face, because he was a brother. He was a black man. And he looked at me, and I turned around and looked at him, and his eyes turned red. So, and for a quick, I was startled, so.
Man, that's
So we have a caller, Johnny? Yeah. Okay, caller, are you there?
Hello?
Yes, how you doing?
Yes. Good, and yourself?
Good. We're thankful that you were able to call, and we're thankful that you were going to share with us.
Yeah.
Yes, actually, I had sent you an email a couple months ago, but, just a lot of things have happened since that email. Everything started when I was intubated about 7 years ago.
Yes.
And it's weird because, a lot of people don't believe me. I sense, I feel things, I see things, and it's weird, and I seen you talk about that a few times. I went to one of my niece's house, and the vibe in her house, it just took over me.
Yes.
It was heavy. It was heavy. It was cold. And I told her, there's someone here that is not good. And ever since that happened to me, that I was intubated, I started with all that. Mm. And when that happened, I heard my grandfather told me that it wasn't my turn. And when that happened to me, everything paranormal started happening. Like it's just a lot of things. I can see things that other people don't. I could be watching a paranormal investigation on TV, and I already know what's going to happen.
Oh, wow.
And recently, a friend that I've known for a long time from 3rd grade passed away. I didn't know he had passed away, and I cried. And I was crying, and I'm like, why am I crying? Like, why do I have that feeling like something happened? Next thing I know, I go on Facebook, and I see his picture that they were saying that he had passed away. And, I just wanted to share because I've seen you talking about, things like that.
Yes.
And a lot of people don't believe it. And those are the things that happen to me. And there's times where I don't know how to react to it.
No, and I'm with you on that, because there's times that for some reason where there's information comes from, I don't know. People have told me you got to look a little bit more into it. Maybe you're psychic. First of all, I don't claim to be psychic. I don't want to look into it because many times I don't like what I see. Do you
ever have like deja vu?
It's true.
Yeah. And there's just some things, I could shake a person's hand at times, not all the time, but I could see stuff that they're going through, or stuff that they've already been through, or, believe me, it's something that I wish.
And you know what?
Go ahead.
I tell my fiance, sometimes I tell him, I'm like, you know what? Your energy, I'm like, I can feel your energy. I can feel you. Like, you think I can't, but I can feel you. Like, I can literally feel when a person is mad, and I can feel when a person is going through something. Like, I could literally feel it, and it's a heaviness that only I know. And it's really, really hard, because last week I was actually watching a paranormal investigation through Facebook.
Yes.
And I was screenshotting, and there was a picture of a baby. It was a cemetery where there was just babies buried that they were not, their bodies were not, picked up by their family members. Basically, they were abandoned. There were babies that they had to put to rest.
Yes.
And I cried, and I cried just by looking at that picture. And I still have that picture.
Oh.
I still have that picture. And it's crazy how by just a Facebook investigation or a picture, you get all that sense, you get all that feeling, you feel what they went through.
Yes.
And I have never felt that.
It was almost like it was passed on to you, for you to feel that sorrow, if you will.
Yeah.
No, I understand.
And I'm pretty sure that that's what happened. They did that.
Yeah.
They made me feel what they were feeling.
Yes. And, many people who have never experienced that won't understand us. They don't get it. Many times they'll make jokes about it. They just won't believe you. They'll probably even mock it. It's because they've never experienced that. They don't have what I don't know whether
the ability.
Yes, the ability. We'll call it that. So thank you very much for calling and sharing that with us. So Wes, one thing we definitely do have in common. We definitely do see and sense things that possibly the normal man doesn't see. So thank you.
Yeah, and a shout out all the way from Livingston, California. My fiance watches you every Friday, Jerry Medina.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. We're thankful for you guys.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yes.
You have a great weekend. Thank you.
You
Bye.
too. Bye-bye. Okay, here's what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and continue with the story and with what we're talking about, and then we will take calls towards the end.
Yeah.
Okay. I know you had shared earlier that you were 8 years old when you started experiencing some of these things. Then you went on to, like, if I'm correct, 10. Now you were telling me you're 11 and 12, and you get invited to a sleepover.
Yeah, so on my grandpa's church, there was a youth pastor named Richard, and he used to gather all the boys, say like youth camp, but like a sleepover at his house, at his grandma's house in Carson. So we brought all our video games. We just wanted to socialize and everything. Right. Well, we didn't know what was going on at this house. There were stories. It's like, hey, how come we can't go to these certain rooms? Just go to the bathroom and that's it. Well, someone left the door open, and there was like a baby's room. It was all white, everything. And we're going upstairs middle of the night, so I had to go to the bathroom. And the light was on, the kitchen light was on. Everyone was upstairs, only us. There was no one downstairs, everything. And all of a sudden, I went to go to the bathroom. When I'm about to go to the bathroom, was going downstairs, I saw, no lie, a lady in a white dress, like she's going to get married, go into that room. Freaked out. I was like, I never seen that before. I go upstairs. I told my youth pastor, hey, Richard, hey, I think I saw a lady going to that room. So what are you talking about? It was in a wedding dress. We all went downstairs, turned on all the lights, went to the baby's room. There was no one there. It was completely empty. And when I went inside the room, we saw the picture frame of, I think she was married, and they had a baby after 2 days after they got married. Well, the story is that the baby died from natural causes. They don't know what, and she was so depressed that 2 months after, she committed suicide. So the grandmother just wanted to make a room just for memories of her. I think of her daughter and her granddaughter that passed away.
So you believe that what you saw was her daughter?
Probably.
Okay.
Probably.
Wow.
Creepy.
Yeah. And when you shared this with him, what was his response like?
He looked at me like kind of weird, like, how did you know?
Did anybody else that you know of had ever seen or experienced anything like that?
Well, he told me that his mom saw something, but he's like, how would you know? Like, how do you know?
Unless you saw it.
Unless I saw it.
See, those are things that are unexplainable. That, again, people could be listening to this and just, those are just stories. But when many of these stories connect with callers that call, or you share this with someone else and they say, I've experienced the same thing, they could live in a different part of the world.
But she committed suicide in that room.
Right. Again, many people live in different parts of the world. And when you guys connect and share stories, obviously there's something there that is really, really happening that we just cannot explain.
Yes.
I mean, and again, many people that question it say this, well, I want to see something, show me. Let me tell you something. Some of the stuff that we experience, you don't want to see.
I don't.
You don't want to see because you never forget. You never forget. And many of these experiences leave you traumatized. So yes, I understand.
Creepy.
Yeah. So that was around 11 or 12. Anything happened after that? Because you're taking us through your childhood.
Yeah. And so when I got to, let's go to like my adult age,
Okay.
and, getting my own place, moving. And there was a little story. When I got my new place, I had to bless the house. I had to sage it. Didn't know that there was a little girl who had an accident in the closet in the bathroom, and she died. And I remember in my other old Instagram, I put a picture of an orb going through a wall. I took a picture when we were all asleep, and you heard like a little girl's screaming voices and everything, and had to bring a priest to come, had to sage the house, really clean it for like 2 or 3 days, and it for some kind of reason, just little by little, just went away.
Okay.
But you hear from time to time, but nothing like it. I don't see it more like a demonic. I just see it more like it must have been like a good person.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now let me ask you this, because I know you had shared with me that you were at one point in a relationship, and something was going on. You didn't know that. You didn't find that until after.
Yes.
The fact.
So I won't mention, but I was in a relationship at her house, and we were just watching TV and everything. And there were some people over. I'm not going to mention who. And one of her brother's ladies was there, and I was playing with my son. And all of a sudden, I looked from the glance of, and I saw like a black smoky entity on top of her, and I could tell it was really creepy, very like negative. And I just said, like, you know what, I'm gonna take our son and go to the room. And after that played, and I just kind of left because I felt there was a very, very negative energy in that house. I quickly left, and I remember when I did, I didn't want to go to that house for a while.
Have you had been there before?
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever felt that before?
Oh, in that house, yes.
Okay, but this one was for something. It was different because you saw something now.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
like a smoky, like a black entity on top of her. So I can tell it was very negative because she brought that negative energy into that house. You know, and every time that she would leave, the negativity in that black figure would just follow her.
Yeah. Okay.
I feel sad. I
Okay.
feel sad about that.
So you it followed her, and you were, if I'm correct, you were in a relationship with this person?
Relationship with this person, but this person the relationship was her brother's girlfriend.
Okay.
She was visiting.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And so what happened after that? I know you were telling me that you found something out about this person, or I'm not sure if we're on the same story, but you had told me that this person practiced something behind closed doors.
So, so at the time this happened, like when I was in a relationship, I was, single, and I was on this dating apps called Plenty of Fish.
Okay.
And, you meet a lot of women out there, and I met this woman. We were just kind of looking just to hook up. And she lived out in Pasadena. So I drive over there, and I for something in my heart, I felt like there's something off. I don't know, I had a bad feeling. So I go over there to Pasadena. She living in an apartment. I go in the house. Tony, I have never felt like a heavy burden. When you first walk in, it felt like you were floating in a water.
Yeah.
It was very heavy, very negative. Saw nothing but witchcraft of swords, knives, everything and stuff. I can tell the house was super negative. I can never in my life I felt so like weak. I felt like the energy was just taken off.
So obviously she was into practicing something.
Correct.
Now some people would say, after hearing what you just said, obviously you felt a certain way. Other people would say, no, that's good. We can practice. Wicca, it's a religion, or I don't even know if I'm saying it right, but they'll say there's good in it. Witchcraft, there's good in it. Many people would say that. I've had a witch here, before, and that it's a beautiful thing to practice these things. But obviously you felt something totally different.
Yes.
And that's one thing that I want to make sure that we're touching on, that you felt something different. Other people may say that it's good.
This was very bad. This
Okay.
is very negative. And I asked her, do you have any people that live in this house? Because she had a 3-bedroom house. It's like a condo for 3 bedrooms. Like, no, it's only by myself. That's kind of weird. And we were hanging out. That happened at 1 o'clock in the morning. We're hanging out, just drinking. And I kind of glanced like, who's that? It wasn't, like, who's that peeking? I said, what are you talking about? There's someone peeking in that kitchen, peeking, like, looking at us. It was like a kind of like a Mexican, guy looking, peeking. And it was like, who's that? And it's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I felt kind of weird. It's like, it's just glancing. It's like, I just got up, went to the kitchen. There was no one there.
Do you think she knew? She just didn't want to tell you?
Didn't want to tell me. And I can tell, I wanted to see her eyes. I wanted to see if she was lying to me or not. She was like normal. So I was seeing all these weird stuff popping around, little entities coming around, until when we were drinking more, it's like, hey, I want to take off. It's like, no, just stay, come stay, spend the night. I don't want you to drink and drive, So I spent the night. We kind of hooked up and have sex. Now, this is where it gets really, really scary. When we were having sex after we were done around like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I remember we're sleeping in the bed. She was holding on me like, when you're done, like you just like love, I felt like I was like paralyzed. I felt all these whisperings when I was in my, and I was paralyzed. I couldn't move my body. I was crying. When I heard all these whisperings, like, who's that? Who's here? And when I opened my eyes, never in my life, I'm not making this up. I saw black figures around the whole bed watching me. Just by talking about it, I get goosebumps. I've never in my life seen that.
Wow. And
I did not know what to do. I was paralyzed. I couldn't open my mouth. I will never forget. I didn't see their faces, but it was all black figures watching me. Just by talking about it gives me goosebumps.
Wow. So you knew that these were actually, if you will, supernatural beings, people right there.
Different types of people,
Yeah.
tall, big, short, just around,
And
just
all
watching
around
us
you.
around
Wow.
the bed from here, just like around. Just
Now, when you say you went to the kitchen and you said that to see who it was, when you said, who's here or who's in? No, nobody's here. Look, if I'm at somebody's house and if I turn around and I see somebody and I say, wait, there's something over there, the normal reaction for a person would be like, where? You saw something? Let's go look. Are you serious?
she didn't do that.
She didn't do that.
So she knew.
Yeah.
She knew.
She knew. But I think what would have probably baffled her was that you were able to see it. You know, because maybe in her mind, the normal eye can't see it. You know, because that's something supernatural. You know, and you looking at it, it made itself visible to you. You know, and then now you're in her bedroom, and now you're starting to see all of these things. You know, so what ended up happening after that? Obviously, did you end up going to sleep, or what happened?
When I was like, hope my eyes I see, I just closed my eyes and I couldn't speak or anything, but in my mind I was saying like the blood of Jesus,
right?
The blood of Jesus, the blood of Jesus, and everything. Right. And you can hear little voices here, but I couldn't hear what it was saying. But little by little, I can kind of move my hands, I can move my body, and I remember I kind of when I took her hand out of, was just holding me, I felt this weird energy, like it was like I felt like I was stuck with her. I was like trapped in that house. And I said to her, hey, I gotta go. It's like, why? Just stay here. It's like, no. I felt like I was in a trance. It's like, I gotta go. But when I went outside, I just couldn't leave the house for some kind of reason. It's almost like it was telling me to go back. You know, it was weird. And I was driving my car going back, and I stopped on the freeway and I threw up. And the weird thing is, I didn't eat anything. The only thing I just had was an energy drink and just one can of beer. So it was kind of weird, and it felt like it just took the life out of me. I went to one of my cousins, I'm not going to mention who, to pray for me, and I was throwing up more. Then took a couple days and relaxed, and I really wanted to make sure nothing was following me, because, you know, knowing the fact that she was practicing some stuff, I did not want to I didn't want to have that curse or some kind of spell, you know, to follow.
Some kind of spirit following.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you ended up finding out, if I'm correct, that she was a witch?
Yes, because she told me.
Wow.
Straight up.
And how did that come about? Did you ask her, or did she just say, hey, you were feeling all this because I practiced this, or?
No, because I was asking her questions of what's all these swords, these daggers. She had a lot of daggers and these weird pictures and everything, and she was very blunt. Right. It's almost like she wanted to say, like, yeah, I do it, so what? Yeah. Like, very intimidation. Yeah,
you know, there's a lot of people that do practice that, and they say that it's good, it's amazing, you ought to try it. And then there's people like yourself, whom I meet more of, that will say, I'm not messing with that. I don't mess with that. You know. And again, I've had people here that do dabble into that, you know, and believe me, I don't. So
just by talking about that story, I get my hand shaky, man.
Well, you know, it's because, again, like I said from the very beginning, most people believe in angels and demons. Most people right away would associate with that being demonic.
Correct.
You know, when I'm saying demonic, I'm not talking about just worshiping Lucifer like an Anton LaVey, you know, but just that it is so dark that it's demonic. Most people would say that. Other people say, no, it's good. It's a practice. It's a good religion. It's whatever. I understand that, to each their own, but I'm giving both sides. You know, that most people will say that it's demonic, it's dark, it's evil. Other people will say, no, it's good. So I just tend to stay away from that, because you never know what you're going to see, what's going to follow you, what's going to happen.
Even like, there's so many stories. I was talking to you, like, you know, I saw like 5 people commit suicide in San Pedro Bridge right there.
Tell us about that. 5?
Yeah, 5. It happened when I was little until now, because I work in San Pedro. So, you know, back in the day, they used to have those tolls to go across the bridge. Right. And they don't have those anymore. And it used to be traffic, or sometimes their cars would just park right there. And every time I would see, like, why is that person climbing up the green fence? And they would jump off and leave their car there for some kind of reason. Wow. You know, like, I think that's what happened with James Cameron's brother, the guy who did Top Gun. He committed suicide at the Green Bridge in San Pedro.
Several years ago, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, just a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
He drove up, like, to the middle of the bridge.
Yeah.
Like, stopped it, got out, and just jumped off. And a lot of people don't realize that when you hit that water, it's like concrete.
Yes.
It's like concrete. So he pretty much just disintegrated, splattered everywhere. And what was his name again?
Well, James Cameron, I don't know. Yeah. I know his Cameron, but I don't know his first name. But he was doing the movies like Top Gun and all these movies like with his brother and all that.
Yeah, and this we're talking about a wealthy guy.
Yeah, oh yes.
You know, a very wealthy guy that this happened not too long ago. Maybe about I'm assuming 2-3 years, maybe, if not a little bit longer. But you guys can look it up. And this guy just parked his car, got out during the day, and just jumped off.
Yeah.
You know, now, and we never found out why. Possibly heard a voice, do it, you know, end your life, kill yourself or whatnot. You look at a lot of these celebrities that when they kill themselves, no one's around. We talked on an episode one time where many celebrities or people that are very successful at one point or another possibly sold their soul to the devil. Okay, how you do that, I don't know. These are just things that I hear and I share. Okay,
It's like with Chester Pennington from Lincoln Park committed suicide in PV.
yeah. Now, and many of these people, if you notice that when they die, they every single one of them is alone.
Yeah, it's true.
Every single one of them is alone. Somebody said this about my favorite artist,
Yes.
Prince. Okay. He was being interviewed on another podcast. And this individual that said it knew my favorite artist. Okay. And they asked him, what happened with Prince? Now, I'm just going to repeat, and you guys can Google this. This TV star, if you will,
Yes.
said the devil came to collect. Now, I'm just saying what this individual said. I'm not saying that's what happened. But if you notice, many of these celebrities, they all die alone. Every single one of them. They have the whole world, you know, that knows them, that loves them, that supports them. But they die loneliness. You know, maybe it's one of those voices. You know, I'm coming to get you. Kill yourself. Do it.
Yeah.
We don't know.
It's almost like, you know, you got here the stories with Bob Dylan or the lead singer from the Eagles.
Yeah.
All that crazy stuff. You know, the Beatles, you know, certain things.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
you know, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and take some more calls. So, Johnny, let us know when the calls are up there, and we'll take some more calls. So the number would be up there, and whenever you're ready, go ahead and dial that number. Let us know. Share with us a story. Keep it 2 to 3 minutes tops. And what's that? Oh, Tony Scott. Okay.
Tony Scott.
Okay. Caller, how you doing? And where you calling from?
Oh, hello. I'm from Bakersfield, California.
How you doing?
Good. How you doing? Yeah, my name's Sam. But I found it pretty interesting that you guys decided to talk about demons today, because that's exactly what I'm gonna tell my story about.
Yeah. Share with us.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what gave me chills was a couple podcasts ago. You were talking about a story on how when you said you woke your son up, but you felt that there was a presence that was kind of like pressing on your chest.
Yes.
Well, that's how I felt. Like let me begin with, we moved into this new house because we moved from a few houses in a couple of years, and the houses that we moved into are in an old neighborhood, one of the oldest neighborhoods here in Bakersfield. Most of the houses there were built around like the 1920s, 1926, 1927. So all these houses carry a lot of weight on them.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. You feel something when you even walk by these houses.
Yeah.
So ever since we moved in, me and my wife would always feel that something was watching us, that something was looking at us, and you know, and honestly, I've always been able to hear or feel stuff happening to me, and I don't know why. You know how you guys were talking about earlier about our houses possibly haunted, or something just follows people wherever they go.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what I felt. And I talked to my wife about, because everywhere we've been, something has always, you know, been around me, or I hear it or feel it. And I've never been afraid of this, because it's never really scared me or touched me till that till that eventful night that I was going to tell you about.
Okay.
But it seemed to start as a dream. I was driving to work, pulled out of my house, driving down the street. And when I get to the corner of my street, something made me look to the left, and I seen something I've never seen, not even in movies. Like a demonic creature just attacking a family that was barbecuing in the backyard. Like, that's what and the minute I pulled up and looked over, it looked at me. So I put my truck in reverse and I head back home, and I just felt the need to go back home. And it's almost like you're watching a movie and you just see yourself going in reverse, like you rewinded the film.
Yes.
But that's how I saw myself going back, and this thing just came running as fast as it could down the street. But I never saw myself go in my house. The next thing I know, the next thing I see is I almost like came out of my bed and I looked out. Something told me look out the window. And when I looked out the window, this thing was standing in the front yard just looking at me. Ugh. Right? And I could see like if it was cold outside, because there was steam or smoke coming off of its shoulders and back. And something inside me was like, well, let me see you. Like if I was saying, well, let me see you, or it was telling me, like, you wanted to see me, here I am. And next thing I know, this thing turns into like a 6 foot, 7 foot, from as high as the house was, and the window I was in had to have been about 6 to 7 feet tall. And I mean, I've seen high definition movies, and scary movies nowadays have very much detail, but the thing that I saw, you could not duplicate in the movie. And I told my wife, I know that this was real because this is nothing I've ever seen in my life. And it just presented itself, and it was in a shadowy form. It was in a shadowy form, but I could see the hair on its shoulders, and I could see the detail. Like, I'm getting just chills and goosebumps talking about it.
Yeah.
And it had bloodshot red eyes that looked through me. It looked through me. And when I started like backing up off the window, I seen the thing take one step, and the next thing I felt, Tony, was exactly what you felt. My eyes opened, and something was choking me. Something was putting pressure on my throat and releasing it, like letting me breathe, but letting me know, like, I could take you anytime I want.
Yeah.
And I was hitting my wife on the shoulder, and she wouldn't get up. And I felt this before in another occasion when something else happened to me. I couldn't wake up, nobody in the house. And I kept hitting her. And then I felt him like release me and back off of me. And that's when I caught my breath. And then my wife finally heard me, and she said, what the hell? What happened? And she thought it was like a gas reflex or something. And I told her, no. I told her something was choking me. I said, wake up. There's something here. And I'm telling you, we must have lasted about 2 more weeks in that house, and we got up out of there.
Wow. And where you're at right now, has any of that continued, or do you believe that it was associated possibly with that home?
We believe it was associated with just the area alone.
Okay.
But I'm telling you, when we moved in, I could feel that something was looking at me whenever I was alone in the living room or going into the kitchen. These are old homes. So I would constantly walk to the kids' rooms and make sure they were asleep. Yeah. Right? So, and as soon as I would cross the kitchen, living room, I would feel something. And I remember I would always say, like, if you're here, let me see you, or, and I would always make sure I prayed, and I always make sure I would tell them that, I believe in Jesus and I'm not afraid of you. Yeah. Yeah. Just so that they knew, so I had that feeling when it presented itself to me. It's almost like it was saying, you wanted to see me, here I am. Yeah. And it popped up off this little tiny creature thing that it was, and it showed itself in its true form. And I mean, you couldn't duplicate this in a movie. If somebody has ever seen something like this, they know that what you see is not something that you've ever seen on TV or something that anybody can tell you. No, you're absolutely right. And when you were telling that story about something putting pressure on your chest, I was telling my wife, did you hear? I even rewinded the video for her, and I was like, listen to this. I said, this is exactly what happened to me that night.
And, you know, that's happened to me many times. But this is the first time, the only time that out of my sleep, I yelled, "Wake me up, wake me up, wake me up." And I was asleep. And when my son woke me up, he heard me saying, "Wake me up." So my sleep.
I know I'm awake, but I always assume that I'm asleep saying it, but I know I'm awake yelling and nobody can hear me.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You know, a lot of times, once again, a lot of people say things like, you know what, I want to see something. I want to see it. I don't believe. But let me tell you some of the stuff that we've seen, some people do not want to see it. Because what you just said, you cannot duplicate that. You cannot duplicate that.
No.
Even if you try to draw
That's
it.
the first time I've ever seen it.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I couldn't draw it for you, and I'm a pretty good drawer, and I've always wondered if I could, and I couldn't. The next day, my wife looked up, when we talked about it better over dinner, she looked up how the demons look, and I mean, out of the 20, 30 stories of people that said they seen something, it was similar, tall, with bloodshot red eyes, and they couldn't really see a face, but everything else was pretty detailed, and I was freaked out. I said, I think I really saw... I didn't think it was the devil himself, but I knew it was something related to that.
Yeah, no, I definitely do believe
and
that.
Mind you, a block down the street is a Catholic church.
Right. You know, and you said a lot of these homes were built in the, what's it, early 1900s, 1920s?
Yeah, 1920s, 1926. I mean,
so there were at least...
you just feel it, because me and my wife jog around here, and you just feel the thickness in the air when you go in front of some of these houses.
Right. So these houses are pretty much about 100 years old, and we don't, you know, a lot of times we don't know who lived there and who did what there in that house, in that neighborhood, etc. You know, so yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, man. I greatly appreciate you sharing that.
I have another quick short story if you want me to tell that one. But
that's
it's
fine.
Shorter than this.
Go for it.
This is in the house that I grew up in, so I know that I didn't see nothing there as a child, because me and my brother slept there for years, and we never heard nothing, seen nothing. But after, of course, I partied and did what I did, is when I started like experiencing stuff. And I was more open to it, I guess, to see it or feel it. But so I'm sitting there watching TV, and picture a little house to where that's 2 bedrooms, and you could hear your kids playing in the next room, right?
Yes.
So I'm sitting there on the edge of the bed, and I'm watching TV, and my kids have that habit of every kid of running into your room and jumping on the bed, right?
Right.
So I could hear them playing over there. Actually, I saw them, and then I sat down, started watching TV in my room, and I hear what I feel is like my son come running down the hall, and I know what he's going to do. I know he's about to jump on the bed. So I'm thinking, as every dad, I'm going to catch this fool when he comes around the bed. So I hear the steps on the floor. He running, and then he jumps on the bed, and I feel my butt go up and down. You know how somebody bounces on your bed?
Yes.
So I move up and down with the bed, and I stand up and jump to the other side, and I was like, I got you. And when I turn and look, there was nobody there, Tony. But I know I'm looking at somebody that just rolled over the bed.
Wow.
I quickly slowed down, turned around, sat my butt back down, and the only thing I could do is call my wife's name from the living room, and I said, "Come here." She walks in, and she says, "What?" And she could tell that I'm spooked. I told her, somebody is in this room. Something just rolled over this damn bed. And I thought it was the kids, and I went over to get them, and something was looking at me, but I knew somebody was looking at me, but there was nothing there.
Wow.
I didn't feel threatened because I could tell it was childlike.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, brother.
That's just another little freaky tale.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you for sharing, man. I greatly appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, bro.
Okay. You have a blessed night.
Love the show. Thank you, guys.
Okay. Talk to you soon. Okay, Johnny, let's take one more short phone call. We're going to take one more short phone call.
There's a lot of stories in Bakersfield, a lot of creepy stories over there.
We'll take one more, and who's going to get the last call? Okay, hello, caller?
Hello?
Yes, how you doing? What's your name? Where are you calling from?
It's David.
David, how are you? Where you?
I'm coming from Torrance.
Okay. How you doing, David? You good tonight?
Yeah. So, yeah. My bad. I was just listening to your thing right now, and I just got a bunch of stories, you know.
Yeah, just give us one good one, brother.
Okay, so my family owns a ranch in Arizona.
Yes.
And we're part Native American. So what goes on is that there's a lot of like the Native American history that goes on in that part of the town.
Yes.
So there's a lot about like the skinwalker.
Yes.
So I would watch these videos about these skinwalkers and stuff like that. But the thing is, when you think about a skinwalker, they say that it comes to you, like it comes to you. So I remember I was watching a video about it, and I went to sleep. I just blacked out, went to sleep, and I had these dreams of like these big dogs, like huge, like 10 feet, like all black eyes, like skinwalker dogs. And I would just run, you know, just try to get away from them. And it's just sorry, I'm just, you know, I was just really nervous, you know. It's just a lot, you know, and it scares me every time I go down there.
You know,
go ahead.
No, I wasn't asking, you know, because I have several Native American friends, and when they go to these reservations, some of them have told me that there's skinwalkers there. Some people call them medicine men. Some people call them skinwalkers. But one of my friends actually told me, I will not go out at night when the skinwalkers are out there.
Ooh, that's a good one.
And
oh yeah, you can't.
Okay, now let me ask you this: why? If you could shed a little bit of light.
The thing is, so what I was told when I was little is that when you go out at night, they're more, how do I say? They're more powerful at night.
Okay.
They'll take you. They'll take your life. Like that's what they do.
Okay.
They have no heart for humanity as like at all, you know.
Okay.
So they'll kill you. They'll haunt you sometimes. They won't possess you, but they'll like stalk you in a way.
Okay.
Like they're kind of like witches as well. They'll take pieces of your hair, like some like dead skin, you know.
Yeah.
And I've heard stories about how like they're extraterrestrial, stuff like that. But it's a very powerful being in a way.
Yeah.
And I would just get these stories coming like just from like family members, you know. Yeah. And I remember this one time I had another dream. Like I own guns, so I remember this one dream where I was just out hunting, and I just came across this black dog, and it was big, like a bear, like a grizzly or Kodiak bear looking, like, but it was as big as a bear.
Yeah.
And all I remember is that I seen this bear from at least about 500 yards away. And get it. It's just a dream, but it felt so real in a way where I had all this energy of being scared. I had all these emotions. My heart was pumping, everything like that.
Dang.
Yeah.
And I remember this black dog coming upon the ridge, and I just took my gun out and just started blasting it. Boom, 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 boom. Wouldn't go down. Got my rifle. Boom, boom, boom. Still wouldn't go down. I dropped everything. I left. I ran as far as I can. And all I can remember is just waking up real fast. And my heart was pumping. Everything was sweating down to the bone.
Right.
And
it sounds like
it was just a crazy story.
Yeah, it sounds like you had several dreams about these dogs.
Yeah. It's not even only dogs though. It would be like about just different Native American cultures as well, like the Wendigos, like Bigfoot in a way too.
Yeah.
Like their version of their book. It's basically the same thing, you know.
Okay.
And it intrigues me, and I just look at these things, and I try to in a way, I want to learn more about it, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you. If I'm correct, you said your name was David, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, David, thank you, man. That was our last call for tonight.
Thank you.
We want to thank you for calling in and sharing with us. We greatly appreciate it, man. So,
Yeah, no.
you have a good night. Okay, that was our last call right there. So we want to thank everybody for tuning in. Very, very interesting night. We want to thank everybody for calling in. Everybody's stories were great. That's what makes this podcast great, because you get to call in and be a part of the show.
Oh yeah, I love it.
Awesome. So we come to the conclusion of Freaky Tales. So at this point, anything you want to say? Anything maybe you forgot to share as we close?
There is one more story before we close. At my job where I work at, I posted a video every time around 3:30 or 4 o'clock a.m. that there was a lady always crying. Something about asking, have you seen my baby? This happens every day since I've been at my new position at my job since last year of August. It always happens around in the plaza, but not knowing a lot of stories are from the park. It's called Peck Park over there in San Pedro. Heard a lot of stories of devil worshiping. Women were killed and being raped. A lot of weird stuff been going on. A lot of black figures. You know, even at my store where I work, it's haunted. It's very, very haunted. You know, hearing girls screaming, stuff's closing. We have, when you go in the back room, there's a cage so you won't fall off. When I was stocking some waters for, to get ready for the next day, I seen a lady looking at me holding the cage, and I was like, "What the heck?"
Wow.
Or sometimes you thinking like our bookkeeper counts the money in the register to get ready for the next day, and you heard like people talking, and I was like, "Hey, who's out? Who's in there?" Maybe they forgot. Maybe they were kind of off on the registers,
Right?
And for some kind of reason, you know, you don't hear anything until the bookkeeper come. I'll explain. I think here's some stuff.
Right.
There's a camera in there. We check the time, and there's no one there.
Wow.
We just hear stuff, and the lady and stuff, we see her floating around. One time she was crying. I wanted to see what was going on. I was like, "Hey, are you okay?" When she looked up, there was no face. And when I glanced and turned around to see if anyone, she vanished, disappeared.
Well, we should have shared that.
Because I have the videos I posted. I tagged you on it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys. So, other than that, any shout outs would you like to give?
You know, I just want to say thank you, Tony, for having me on Freaky Tales podcast. You know, I love Friday nights. You know, it's awesome. And shouts to everyone who's watching this right now, and to all the Megaman podcast followers, and to everyone around the world who's watching this right now.
Awesome. So, with that being said, first of all, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Everybody on the live chat. Everyone that has subscribed, commented, liked, even if you disliked it. Hey, you watched, so give a shout out to you guys. And also visit documixery.com for the horror loteria. It's there available. We have a few left. Those are great stocking stuffers if you wanted it. Other than that, I want to give a shout out to John Elkins for making this happen. Without him, none of this would take place. So that's pretty much my right hand man. We're partners, and we bring you the two different podcasts, whether it's this one or the other one, but we bring it to you, and we're in your homes 3 times a week. So we want to thank you for welcoming us. So with that being said, please expect the unexpected, and we'll see you here next Friday with another special guest. Thank you.
Later.